Welcome to Love, Laughter, and Limits. I'm Tom Dozier, and this lesson is Parental Expectations, teaching and motivating your child. Research in human behavior has shown that the most effective way to get rid of problem behavior in children is to teach and build desirable behavior rather than trying to punish undesirable behavior. This class will help you do just that. It will help you teach your child what you define as good behavior in a way that is highly likely that the child will comply. This class is for children who are verbal, who can talk reasonably well. So generally 3, 3.5, 4 years and older. And this class is based in sound research in human behavior. This skill really works. So what do you expect your child to do or not do? To clean his room, to be good, don't hit his sister, to do what they're supposed to eat with a fork and a spoon, to use time wisely, to be self-motivated. Of all of these expectations that I just listed, most of them would be inappropriate to use with a child. And we'll cover that later. In fact, of this list, there's only one that is really an appropriate expectation. So the steps to this parental expectation skill are the following. First, as a parent, you state the expectation. Then you want your child to repeat the expectation. And then you wait for the expectation to be met or to start to be met, and then you want to acknowledge compliance in some positive way. Now there's more filling to go around it, and we'll talk about these in detail now. So the first thing is to tell your child what you expect him to do rather than what you expect him to not do. So some examples here. Instead of saying don't slam the door, you would say shut the door quietly. Instead of don't talk with your mouth full, chew with your mouth closed. Instead of don't leave crumbs on the counter, we would say please keep the counter clean. Instead of saying don't lie, we would want them to tell the truth. Instead of don't hit your sister, would be play nicely with your sister. Keep your hands and your feet to yourself. Be nice, that sort of thing. Instead of don't be rude and disrespectful, we would want them to talk politely and nicely. And instead of no potty talk, we'd want them to use good words, nice words, polite words. So it's key that we say it with positive language. That's the key. We want to use positive language, and if your statement has don't or not or without, then it's a negative statement. You want to say it in a positive way, at least initially. You may have to have a clarification with the prohibited behavior, but in general, you want to tell them what you expect them to do. Now, Dr. Latham was here locally in Livermore one time, and to the group of parents he said, this may seem like a little thing, but it's not. This telling your children what you expect them to do, positive language, is a powerfully important principle. So put that one down. Use positive language to tell them what you expect them to do. The second thing is we want to make sure that our expectation is clear. State it clearly. It should be so clear that a third party would understand. We want to minimize the number of words. We want to stay calm and to the point. And we want to explain with no more than 1 or 2 short statements why the behavior is good or bad for the child. And generally then only if they ask for it. And when it's an emotional situation, when your child is not agreeing with you, then you want to avoid reason, logic, and good sense. Those are your worst enemies when it's an emotionally charged issue. Now, with those 7 expectations that I had listed before, let's look at those again. To clean his room, it's too vague. To be good, that's too vague. Don't hit your sister, that's negative. Right? We want to say it in a positive way. Do what you're supposed to. Now, that's way too vague. Eat with a fork and spoon. That's a good expectation for the dinner table. very clear, concise, positive language. Use your time wisely. It's too vague. Be self-motivated. Way too vague. So we have to think really clearly, what is it we want our children to do? And this isn't an easy thing for some parents. I was working with a mom talking about what the kids needed to do in the morning, and she would say, well, I want them to get up and do this, and then we said, okay, so that's what we want to do in the morning. Well, it'd also be good if they could do some of their piano practicing or their violin practicing. And you know, if they had that time, they could use it. And she kept piling things on, and we couldn't took 15 minutes to get a clear statement of a minimum expectation for the kids in the morning so we could convey it to the kids. And then you want to have the child restate the expectation. Now, this is good to make sure that the child heard you correctly, but it changes the probability that the child will actually do it if he says it. There's something that goes on in the brain when they have to put it into words and put it out their mouth to say, well, this is what you expect me to do. But when you tell the child what you expect them to do, like, you know, I expect you to get your homework done before dinner time, one of the most common words that's going to come out of that child's mouth is, but I'm tired after a long day, but I hate homework, but homework's stupid. And whatever follows but is essentially behavioral noise, and the function of that noise is to take you away from dealing with the expectation. And so what you want to do is you want to listen to the child with empathy and understanding. And you can come back with something, if they're talking about homework and that they are tired after a long day of school, then you want to come back and touch that feeling. You know, I know that you do have a long day at school, and at the end of the day, you are tired and you would like to just kick back and relax. And then you want to go back to the expectation. Even so, what do I expect of you each day? But homework's stupid and the teachers give way too much homework. You know, I understand that the teachers often do give you a lot of homework. Nevertheless, what do I expect of you with regard to your homework? Well, to do it before dinner time, but that's a lot of work. And then you say, thank you so much. And you acknowledge them for repeating it. Thank you. That's exactly right. To do it before dinner time. Now, whatever is your expectation, that's just one example. And then you want to emphasize the benefits that are earned by being compliant. So you may say, and so son, once you have your homework done, then you can, whatever the fun things they like to do. A very common thing I work with parents on is problems in the morning routine. And so you may say, once you get up and oh no, we've gotten rid of TV in the morning because it's just too much trouble. Well, the expectation is to get up, get dressed, eat your breakfast, and put your shoes on, and have your backpack by the door. And once you've done those things, then you can watch cartoons. So what do I expect you to do in the morning? Get up, get dressed, eat my breakfast, put on my shoes, put my backpack by the door. That's right. And what do you get to do once you've done that? Watch cartoons. You know, sometimes it's going to be simply earning your respect. Sometimes you're just going to simply appreciate them doing it. You have to decide what that is. But it's nice to say, you know, I know this is asking quite a bit of you, and I'll really want to let you know how much I appreciate you when you do that. The next suggestion is to, once you've told the child what you expect, then the expectation should be repeated only by the child. You can ask the question again, but you don't want to keep saying it. You want the child to tell you. And in fact, if they know the routine in the morning, what it's supposed to be, you don't even have to tell them to start with. You can just ask them what they're supposed to do when they get up. You've told them 25 100 times already, they surely know what the routine is. You want to engage them in the conversation. You know, you'd like to have 1 or 2 sentences and then have some kind of a response back from the child so that they don't just tune you out. You may use role playing to teach. Come on, let's pretend this is going to happen. Show me what you're going to do. Show me what I'd expect you to do when a friend of yours says, hey, I've got some pills. Do you want to take one? Hey, I've got some pot or marijuana or whatever they call it now. Let's smoke it, right? Role play what you expect. Let them practice it. Help them be part of the solution. If it's something like doing homework, talk about, well, where are you going to do it and when would you have to start your homework? And help them be part of the instruction to self-instruct and tell themselves how they're going to do and accomplish the thing you expect of them. And then you really want to let the consequences teach. Right? You want to then acknowledge the good behavior, and if they haven't done their homework and they can't play their video games, you just go, oh, I know you'd really like to play your video games. And you'll be able to do that as soon as you take care of what? That's right, your homework. Great, thanks. You see, you want to let these contingencies or the consequences teach, and if at all possible, you catch them being good and say, oh, hey, thanks for getting started on your homework. Right? That's a really good way to keep the behavior going. So a couple of quick stories, different ages here. Starting at the bottom, you're going to go to the park. You want to tell the child when it's time to go. And I say 5 minutes. I'll say 1 minute. And I say, okay, time to go. I expect you to come over to me, put your shoes on, take my hand, and then we will walk home. So when we're at the park and I say, time to go, what do I expect you to do? And the child should be able to say, come to you, put my shoes on, take your hand, and go home. And if they can't say it, you may say, let's pretend, show me. Pretend this is the park, and you role play it with a younger child. And you say, that's right, and when you do that, then when we get home, we'll play this little game, we'll have snack time, we'll have an Otter Pop, whatever it is when you get home. And that gives a little motivation for something to happen down the road. I teach this is an 8-week class, and the first night I taught this skill, and a dad went home. He had 2 daughters that were approximately 6 and 8, if I remember right, and they had little lights by their beds that they had on at night, and they would never turn them off. And he had been trying to get his girls to turn the lights off for over a year. He went home, used this skill with his girls. Bingo, the lights were turned off every morning, and he appreciated it. All he was doing was appreciating what his girls had done. When I was first getting into this field and working with Dr. Latham, I had a guy painting my house, and he was talking about his teenage kids and what a pain they were to go out to eat with. But he liked to go out to eat. As a family, had 4 kids, all 4 teenagers. He says, but it was just a nightmare. I said, do they know what you expect of them? He says, well, I guess. I don't know. I said, well, figure out what it is and tell them and have them repeat it back. Well, that was on a Friday. He came back on a Monday. He says, wow, did that work? I was amazed. You will be amazed at how well this skill works. See, our job as parents is to create a non-coercive home environment which encourages children to behave well so that the desirable behavior is strengthened with some kind of a positive payoff, a positive recognition, technically a reinforcing consequence. So we use expectations to get the behavior started, but then we have to recognize it and appreciate it to keep it going. It's that positive payoff, the positive recognition, that positive reinforcement that keeps it going in the long run. So thank you for watching Parental Expectations, Teaching and Motivating Your Child. Now there are going to be follow-on lessons with specific applications for different age groups. So watch for those lessons for the age of children that you have that you are concerned about. I'm Tom Dozier, wishing you an abundance of love and laughter in your family, along with limits to help your children behave well and be happy. Thank you.